if it does something when it's ready to go? Like, they're both red.
Is it, yep.
Are we on?
Red?
Are we on?
Red? Yeah.
We good? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to the council meeting today of Wednesday, May 29th, 2024, to our public meeting. I want to welcome council, staff, visitors who are in the gallery here today, and anyone who may be watching online. Councilor Hoteling is online with us. So I'll call the meeting to order. We acknowledge that we're in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. 2.1 is the approval of the agenda under administrative and procedural issues. I ask for a motion to approve the agenda, except for we're going to have a couple additions. First of all, we're going to change to 6.1 and 6.2. We'll change that to follow up the public hearings we're going to have today. So if you can take those off your agenda and move them up under 2.4.3. So 6.1, 6.2, immediately following the hearings. And I'd also like to add 7.3, the RCMP Advisory Board appointment, and 7.4, Princess Street contract awarding. Okay, so I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Please move by Councillor Joseph, seconded by Councillor Gould. All those in favor say aye. 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 Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is approved. 2.2, approval of minutes. So we have two sets of minutes to approve. So the first one is that the minutes of the April 24th, 2024 regular council meeting be approved. I ask for a motion, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Gilroy, seconded by Councillor Porter. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried. And the second motion is that the minutes of the May 8th, 2024 special council meeting be approved. I ask for a motion, please. Moved by Councillor Joseph, seconded by Councillor Gould. All those in favor say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried. 2.3, business arising. Mr. Harrett's going to review the business arising from the minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Business arising is in pages 20, 21, 22, and 23 of Council's package. And first is the business arising from the Council meeting April 24th, and all items are complete. You can see the award of the tender for paving as noted as in progress, but it's complete. Page 21 is the ongoing action list. We've picked a few items off this, but a number of them remain just working through the details. The formal purchase and sale agreement with Shaw for the lands adjacent to Robertson Avenue is in progress, but not quite complete. And the same can be said with Crossroads Cycle, except that one of those sales agreements has been signed and the other hasn't. So that's in progress. Public hearing regarding rezoning Merville Rushton, that's on hold at the moment, but it's in progress. CGS May dissolution is also in progress. There continues to be a title issue with the property at 12 Clark Street in Spring Hill with regard to the sale of surplus properties, and so that hasn't been cleared yet. Demolition at 87 Mechanic Street in Spring Hill has been complete. Couple of planning issues, adding personal service shops to the list permitted uses as of right in institutional zones is in progress, and amendment to section 14 of the land use bylaw is also working through the process. The balance of the items on page 22 are all complete. The number 19, which is the purchase of a new pumper truck from Fort Garry for the Wallace Volunteer Fire Department, and I believe that has been ordered, correct? So that will mark that one complete as well. Page 23 is with regard to the special meeting on May 8th. Demolition order for 89 Water Street in Pugwash is in progress, and I think Director Cole is on site down there tomorrow to do a little bit of advanced work, but we're still on schedule to get that done. And the remainder of those items are marked as complete. Happy to answer any questions that council has, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Harrett. Any questions or comments from Mr. Harrett in regards to his report? Seeing none, thank you. 2.4 public hearings. So we have 1, 2, 3 public hearings today. So the first one will be dangerous, unsightly, 3344 Highway 302, Macan. Mr. Cole, Director of Protective Services. Before you begin, I'm going to call this public hearing to order. I'll call upon Mr. Cole for proper identification, background information, and recommendations. Please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The motion before council is that council issue a demolition order for the garage located at 3344 Highway 302 McCann. Complaints were received in relation to the state of the garage, Your Worship, and an order was issued on the building on April 4th, 2024. The notice of hearing was posted on April 29th. The garage is unsecured and falling down. There are two pictures that follow. The first picture on page 26 of the package, Your Worship, is the most instructive. And there's no opposition to the order being requested, Your Worship, or the motion being requested.
Thank you, sir. So, is the property owner present for that property?
No, Your Worship.
If not, any other comments, Mr. Cole, in regards to this decision before council?
No, Your Worship.
Any questions from council for Mr. Cole in regards to this agenda item demolition request? Seeing none, I will now close the hearing. The motion is that council issue a demolition order, garage only, for 3344 Highway 302, Macan, PID 250 64940. Someone like to make that motion, please. Moved by Councilor Porter, seconded by Councilor Gould. Any questions or comments in regards to the motion? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. 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 Contrary minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, sir. 2.4.2, dangers unsightly, 191 McGee Street, Spring Hill. Mr. Cole.
Thank you, Your Worship. Similarly, this is a request that council issue a demolition order in relation to 191 McGee Street in Spring Hill. After complaints were received in relation to the building, the owner of the property obtained a demolition permit to demolish the building himself. There has been, in the view of staff, very little activity on that front. The demand letters to clean up the property and proceed with the demolition were sent to the owner on September 21st, 2023, December 15th, 2023, and March 20th, 2024. The building is abandoned and in a poor state of repair, a hole in the roof, and the building's filled with debris and caving in. The property owner, I believe, is here today.
I am here. In September, there was no letter. I saw Mr.
Just a sec, sir. Just a second. Just a minute, please. Just
Yep.
continue on, Mr. Cole, and then I'm going to call upon the owner to.
Yes. Thank you, Your Worship. Given the fact that there's already a demolition permit obtained by the owner, what staff is asking for is a demolition order from council so that we may proceed with the demolition. It's the date on the demolition permit obtained by the owner was June 2, 2023, almost a year ago. My understanding is that the owner didn't pick up the demolition permit until sometime later, but I'm sure that he can fill us in on the details.
Good. Thank you, sir. So, Mr. Mitchell, would you like to come forward here, please?
Sorry for interrupting you.
No, it's okay.
My first council meeting.
Yeah. Anyway, this is your opportunity, Mr. Mitchell. As the landowner, this is your opportunity to speak and share your comments and thoughts about the process here today. So, please, sir, the floor is yours.
I had called you, Mr. Scott, about if you already had a meeting. I knew nothing about September that you just mentioned. That meeting said it was on the wrong date, so that was not happening. So then I got a revised letter from Jamie in your office later after I had called you about that, and which these are complaint driven, all these. So I asked Jamie, if you drive up and down the roads, because I had put the demolition permit in place before these complaints were lodged against me. So I'm tearing this building down as a stick frame, and it's not caving in. The only reason this building is coming down at all because Public Works kept hitting with their snowplow. Now, I got videos of them doing it, knocked the sills out of it. I had jacks under there and they knocked them back out because I was going to fix it up. But anyway, it's coming down now. I had already applied before any of this complaint took place. So if you want to see, I'll show you some still shots I took here. See that file? See where it's at now? On the building. Now, these are tons of snow. This was year in, year out. I've even jumped in the snowplow and asked them to stop. My answer back was, is this an old building? I said, well, this happens to be my old building. And I was jacking up time to replace the sill, because the sills are knocked out because they hit the sandstones, knocked it out. But all that being said and done, that screwed the building. Now, this building has 200 plus 2x6s in the roof system, which is good. To build a roof system like that would cost you over $40,000. I'm recovering that lumber. I'm taking the modules. Now, when I applied for the permit, again, I applied for this permit on the 2nd or 3rd of June, and 10 weeks later, I got my $10 receipt and the permit. Took 10 weeks to get it, and I didn't get any calls, except for the one, and was on this day in August that she had called, and I went right up that same day and got the permit, because I was happy to get it, be able to start work, because I didn't want to start working on this building until. And then, in the meanwhile, Alpha Road project started. So that 10 weeks behind there, now I got an asphalt stripper blocking 4 doors. This was 4 apartments at one time. So I got the machine parked up against the doors. I can't get in the building. So finally I went around the other side and cut a hole in the side, as some of you may have seen. I had the trailer there. I've taken out 3 tons of gyp rock. Now inside of that building is modules built one inside the other. So there's another 600 2x4s in there, which I've been gradually cutting out. So I'm recovering all this lumber, which is all perfectly good lumber. This building has no floor joists. I don't know if anybody ever knows anything about the building or not, or know about building buildings, but there's no floor joists. It's all beams and plank flooring, which makes it pretty secure to work on. If it had been a floor joist building, I would have said, come and bulldozer myself, because I know buildings, I've worked on them all my life. So I'm recovering this lumber. So now, just last week, they took the driveways out as they put the water line in. So all 4 doors are on the Alpha Road side. I had no entrance to that building at all, and I couldn't get in there because their machinery was parked 1 foot away from all the doors, so they jammed me up. So that put me right into winter. And then Public Works come and they flushed the top driveway off just by opening a fire hydrant instead of putting a turn down like you should do. They just blew it off the side of the buildings and soaked all the insulation inside that building. So that put me behind from this winter going in. I did go and do what I could do. Took the gyp rock and stuff down, but I had to wait for that to thaw out. And our very last snowstorm, to put me behind again, they come around and turn the other road and plow the snow up onto the building. Why? Only building in town they do it to. So anyway, that's why I'm behind. But I am working at this building. I'm over there every chance I get, and Greg driving by there today probably see me over there throwing out 2x4s one at a time. And there's probably, I'm going to say $15,000 worth of materials I'm going to take out of that roof system, which is all 5/8 plywood, 2x6 and 3x6 in the roof itself, and the rest is 2x4. So I'm trying to recover that lumber. So rather than bulldoze me down, as I've been threatened with, and the first one was I didn't even know about, I called Murray on it, I'm trying to recover that and take that money, and I'm going to pull the sandstones out for the landscaping, as well as the 50 beams that are under there, which are worth $8 a lineal foot right now if you're to recycle them. So I will ask you for an extension on the time for a number of reasons. The snow load being on the building, the machinery parked against, the water line going in, which last week I called them, asked them to come put the driveways back in. They didn't. They were dickering back and forth if it was Public Works' spot to do or Miller's. Miller says it was theirs, they say it's Miller's. I called Andrew Thomas on it last fall, got no response back at all. They were supposed to come. There's a water line laying there in case there's never a new building put up. They left it laying there exposed. They were coming last fall to put a standpipe up, which they haven't come yet. I can't do nothing about that. I can't go over and touch that water line. I don't want to break it. But anyway, this is all the stuff that put me behind. And this is not a complaint from me. This is just what got me behind. Because if I could have started on June 2nd last year, when I applied for this permit, my intentions were to have that building down at least to the pad before the Alpha Road started. And they're still not done. And you want to talk about a dangerous situation. What they dug up there and didn't put back, they put topsoil back instead of the gravel that was there. It made a dangerous situation for anybody to walk. I kept it good. I kept it mowed, I kept it clean, I made a safe spot for the children. They come over and dump humps of asphalt like this in the driveway. When you go around the turn in the Alpha Road in Spring Hill, pass through that property, you are swerving through my driveway. Just because you're on pavement doesn't mean it's the road. Yellow line's out here. So that is actually the property. I don't really care about that. I'm talking about the safety part of it now. There's a crosswalk there. They tore it up, dumped gravel there and humps and bumps, and made a dangerous situation, so. All it is, but I will appreciate the extension so I can stick frame this building down as it was put up. Sorry for the long.
No, it's
verbal,
okay. So I do have a question for you. So you mentioned that, and, you know, it'll be a council decision here, Mr. If, you said you had applied for the permit, was it in June?
Yes, it was on.
And your intention was to have it down before the paving started, which was gonna be July.
No, before they showed up, but they had, as soon as we got the permit, everything showed up. So there was nothing I could do I couldn't even get in the doors.
I guess my question is for your council consideration, David, is what's the date you're gonna have it down by? If we give it an extent, if council, now that can't be determined what council decide here today, but keep in mind, it's gotta be, what's the
Give
date?
me till the middle of September. If it's not down, come bulldoze it. There's a lot of material in there that, like I say, I'm sawing each board out individually, taking it down as it was put up. So there's modules inside, if you will understand that. Apartments built inside of a building is what it was. All perfect good material. Like I say, there's 800 2x4s there. We're cutting them down. The roof system's all 2x6. I want to pull the sandstones out from underneath. I'm looking at about $25,000 worth of materials when I'm done with this.
You mean now or future? Yeah, I'm just thinking back what you just said a minute ago, though. You said you had planned when you got the demolition
Well,
permit,
we
you were
had
gonna have it down, just a second, sir. You were gonna have it down before construction started. They were starting construction in July.
Well, we
So
didn't know
that's
when
a
they were
month.
starting.
No, I know, but that was a month. So I guess, you know, so you said you're asking council to give you till September?
Yes, please.
So are we gonna see progress?
I'm doing progress
Are we
every
gonna see
day.
progress over the next days and weeks?
You
that
guys
you're-
can't see the progress I'm doing, Marie, because I'm inside.
Yep, I know, I hear that. I'm saying, are we gonna, we don't wanna come back here in September and have to go through this again.
No, you won't be back.
So
I'll tell
if
you
we-
what.
But if council entertains passing a motion here today for demolition, giving you a certain date to have it done by.
You do
You'll
that, and I'll, if it's not done, I'll bulldoze it myself.
Thank you. Just 1 sec. Mr. Cole, you have a question? Are you gonna comment about that?
Your worship, the issue, is not, I believe, whether or not, the building should be demolished.
Mhm.
The issue
It's when, yeah.
is when.
Yep.
My suggestion, your worship, would be that the demolition order, be issued to avoid having to come back before council again, with a date on that order. That date should be a month from now.
Councilor Joseph, did you wanna make a motion, or would you have a comment?
Thank you, Worship. Comment, if I may. I support an extension till the middle of September.
So the recommended motion is that council issue a demolition order for 191 McGee Street, Spring Hill, Nova Scotia, PID 252-38445. So, Councilor Jones, if you want to make that motion with the comment you just made about extension, please do. So that, you're making that motion with the extension?
With the extension to middle of September, but there has to be an exact date put on that.
15th.
So I don't have a calendar, Your
No,
Worship.
that's fine. 15th September? That's your.
15, does
that's
that
your
land on
motion?
a Sunday, though? That's the thing, is it's an important day, right? Sundays are important days.
Yes, it is a Sunday.
Okay.
How about
16th
16th of September?
Okay, so Councilor Joseph made the motion for the issue of demolition order with the extension being given till September 16th, 2024, correct?
Yes, Your Worship.
Someone like to second that? Seconded by Deputy Mayor Gilroy. Any questions or comments in regards to that motion? Councilor Redmond, yeah, I'm trying to make sure.
Yes, I will vote in favor of the motion. However, I do not agree with extending the demolition orders in the future. Staff works due diligence on getting this done, and I personally feel that you did have opportune time from June 2nd.
Took me 10 weeks to get a receipt.
You could have gone into the office and got it, but I'm not gonna argue with you about that. It's just something that I think we're setting a precedent here. And I guess that's about all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Redmond. Any other questions, comments? Councilor Gould?
Yeah, just a little bit of a concern as well in terms of the way it's getting taken down. You know, if you bulldoze it down, you clean it up within a day or two, it's done, sort of thing. If you're taking it down piece by piece, I just would hope that we're somehow going to secure that area as it starts to get a little bit less stable or starts to get a little bit more open, because
It will be fenced when it gets to that point, when I drop the roof. It's not, most of the building will come into itself anyway. There's nothing gonna fly out once I take the rest of the roofing shingles off. The rest will just go into the building. It's 2x6s will just be laid down in, and we do have a crane accessible and machinery as well.
So, okay, Councilor
Yeah,
Gould?
I was just,
Yeah,
safety
that's good.
concerns was where
Yeah,
I was
thank
at,
you.
yeah.
Mr. Cole, just correct me if I'm wrong. If we follow through on the demolition, the property be taken, the building be taken down, cleaned up,
Yes,
and be attached to the tax bill of the property, is that correct?
that's correct.
So if the property's not taken down and cleaned up by the 16th of September, municipality will step in and do it, just like we normally would, correct?
We're not bringing it back here to talk about it again.
No, that's what I'm saying. Mr. Cole will take it from here. If it's not done by that date that's being suggested by you folks today, then the municipality will step in and finish the job, I guess. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Cole?
Just for
Yep.
clarity on the motion,
Yep.
Your Worship. So the motion is that council issue a demolition order
Yep.
in relation to 191 McGee Street, and that demolition order not be carried out by staff until on or after September 16,
Correct. Right.
2024.
Good enough for that, interpretation.
Yeah,
The order's in place, but it won't be acted upon.
You won't act upon it until
September
16th.
16th.
Exactly. Yep.
Perfect.
So, look, let's be clear with this. The property's gonna have to be cleaned up to the satisfaction of Mr. Cole, David, or they will
I
move in to do it.
understand fully, Marie, and
You
that was
can't
my
have it half
intent.
down and say, I'm halfway there. It'll be done in that day.
That's my intentions,
Okay?
but like
Yeah.
I say, I
Well-
wanna recover this. It's like 25,000 bucks for
Yep.
me. As you know, I'm disabled pretty much, so the building's come down, I got guys hired. I've already taken 3 ton of gyp rock out to the landfill here, like, you know, it's an expense for me as well. So you're gonna bulldoze me down and bill me 14 grand, take the property, which ain't gonna happen, because I'd pay the 14 grand, because I'm not part of that property. I bought it through taxes in order to fix it up, and like I say, it got destroyed by Public Works.
I just want to make sure we're all clear here what the intention of council is, David, that's all.
100%, that's
So-
my intentions as well,
Okay,
Marie,
so,
yeah.
and otherwise, after this, we won't come back here again after the 16th.
No.
Mr. Cole's staff will take care of the rest if it's
You
not taken care
won't
of.
be here.
Got it? Any other questions? Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, Jen. Yeah, I just got you too, Jen, yeah, on the screen. Great, thank you. Thank you.
So we're good till
Mr. Commissioner.
September 16th?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Mr. Cole, thanks for that. 2.4.3, dangerous unsightly, 219 King Street, Parsboro. Mr. Cole. Sorry, so I'm going to call this hearing to order. I'll call upon Mr. Cole to bring forward this next agenda item, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a recommended motion for council to issue a demolition order in relation to 219 King Street, Parsboro. The property was the subject, or the building was the subject of a fire, which made the building uninhabitable. The owner has been attempting to clean up the property and requested extension of time to do so, to delay demolition during the winter months. As of the end of May, there's been very little progress on the demolition of the property, and so staff is asking for an order to demolish.
Thank you, sir. So is the property owner present?
I don't believe so.
Don't believe there's, if not, any other comments, Mr. Cole, in regards to this item?
No,
None?
Your Worship.
Any questions from council for Mr. Cole in regards to this agenda item? Seeing none, I will close the hearing. The recommended motion is that council issue a demolition order for 219 King Street, Parsville, Nova Scotia, PID 25215666. Someone like to make that motion, please? Moved by Councilor Redmond, seconded by Councilor Porter. Anything on the question? If not, call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Al,
So 6.
when you speak next, just bring the mic a little closer to you. I don't think the cameras are moving and their voice actually there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to now go to the 2 agenda items. 6.1, lease for 43 Main Street, Spring Hill. Mr. Cole?
Thank you, Your Worship. This motion before council is to grant an extension of lease in favor of BrokerLink of 1,112 square feet of office space on the main floor at 43 Main Street, Spring Hill. The original lease was granted on February 28, 2019, and that was to Archway Insurance. That lease was assigned to BrokerLink in February of 2022. BrokerLink has now requested an extension of lease for 2 years and 6 months. The amount of lease payment or the payment terms will increase from $12,000 per annum to $13,344 per annum. A copy of the proposed extension agreement is attached. This requires council's consent, Your Worship, because it's a lease of more than 1 year's term. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is that council approve of the extension of a lease in favor of BrokerLink Incorporated of 1,112 square feet, of space at 43 Main Street, Spring Hill. Someone like to make that motion, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Gilroy, seconded by Councilor Gould. Questions or comments in regards to this agenda item? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, sir. 6.2 is the lease for Nouveau Lake. Mr. Cole?
Thank you, Your Worship. This is an application for council to approve a lease in favor of the municipality, in this case, for the lands located at Halfway River, known as Newville Park. Originally, a lease was granted in May of 2020 to the municipality from the Fullertons to use the lands as a park. That lease is set to expire on July 31st of this year. The property has been sold to the son of the Fullertons, James Fullerton, who has agreed to renew the lease on the same terms and conditions as the prior lease. The amount of the lease payments the municipality makes is $400 per year during the term, all of which is payable in advance. So for the 5-year lease, it's a $2,000 payment paid in advance under the terms of the lease. The only issue before council is, should something happen, the lease be breached, we'd have to try and recoup that money. But that was the terms of the original lease, the terms of the proposed new lease, and it's a reasonable condition in the circumstances, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. It's the recommended motion is that council approve a lease in favor of the municipality of the county of Cumberland of the lands located in Halfway River, Nova Scotia, known as Nouveau Lake Park. Someone like to make that motion, please? Moved by Councilor Porter, second by Councilor Joseph. Any questions or comments from Mr. Cole in regards to this agenda item? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for moving the
You're
last
welcome.
few items
You're welcome.
forward.
You're dismissed. We'll revert back to the agenda. So 3 and 4 strategic priorities and major organization items. We don't have any today on the agenda. So number 5, organizational policy bylaw items. Several here. 5.1, first reading of amendment to the land use bylaw Schedule A to rezone PID 25144-031 and 251-43215 Colbeck Road, Port Howell. Mr. Boone.
Thank you, Your Worship. Detailed report is in your package. I have a short PowerPoint presentation to lead us through the application. Just for a reminder to council, it's first reading. at this point. So it's, I'll try to make the presentation brief because there'll be more details would come forward at the public hearing stage. So this application, next slide, please. Thanks. So this application is on the Colbeck Road. There's two maps up in front of you. One is the ortho or the air photo map, and also our zoning map. So this is frontage. There's two parcels, one with frontage directly on the Colbeck Road, and the other parcel has no direct road frontage, but would be part of the overall project that's being proposed. Property has frontage on Eel Creek, which leads into the River Phillip. And as well, it's a proposed change of the agricultural zone. Current use is vacant, it's forested land, but looking to turn it into commercial recreation project with fixed roof overnight accommodations. Next slide, please. So the concept you can see on the screen, Your Worship, there's two plans here. One is the survey plan of the two parcels. There has been a few lots subdivided off of this parcel in recent years. They are not part of the direct rezoning as the two PIDs that I've mentioned. And the proposal, as you can see on the color drawing to the right, is to create an access road from Colbeck Road and into a location, the small dots you see to the upper right corner on the screen. Those would be the proposed chalets, which would be fixed roof overnight accommodations. So following the brown track in from the road, you'll see the two roads kind of intersect. One is for access to the river, and the other would be for the intersection. There would be access to those four projected chalets. This is a property that has been purchased as a long-term development. So starting initially with the 4 units, long-term, there has been a lot divided off just to the right of the Brown Road surface that has been subdivided out where the individuals would build their actual home on a separate PID on a separate lot. So it's a long-term play. The 4 chalets proposed 25 by 30 each. There is an application that will come forward for a garage for the site, which would be used for a shop while they're constructing the chalets, which will be built stick construction from the beginning. Next slide, please. These are just concepts. So at this point, just to give an idea what would be coming forward, there'd be 2-bedroom chalets, loft style, gable style, or chalet type buildings. Again, we can talk a little bit more about the details at the public hearing, but just for information to council for your knowledge moving forward in the process. Next slide, please. So just to quickly look, there's no financial implications to the municipality, no environmental implications at this time. All the designs for the chalets would have to go through an engineer to look at putting what they call a clustered septic system in place. That would all be part of the development and building permit stage. Community engagement, should council approve the first reading, would be a public hearing. We are looking to schedule one for June 19th, Your Worship. That would be the recommendation. However, the recommendation and the motion is that council approve the first reading and look to schedule a public hearing, a future public hearing for the proposed amendment. So unless there's specific questions, that is it on that application, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is that council approve first reading of the bylaw to amend the land use bylaw 24-01 and the Schedule A to rezone PID 251-44031 and 251-43215 from agricultural zone to commercial recreational zone and schedule public hearing for the proposed amendment at a future meeting of council. Someone like to make the motion, please? Move. She's on there. Okay, yeah. Moved by Councilor O'Telling. Seconded by Councilor Redmond. Any questions or comments for Mr. Boone in regards to this agenda item? Anything, Jen, from your perspective? You okay?
Nope, I'm good, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other question? Deputy Mayor Gilroy.
Thank you, Worship. One quick question there, Glenn. I'm assuming, given the width of the right-of-way that's proposed here, that they're gonna run power back to those 4 units? They're not running them off-grid or anything, are they?
No, the plan is they have been in contact when we did the site visit. The developer owner of the property has already had it spec'd or scoped out by Nova Scotia Power. The power line will come in directly from the street, but the access to the site as approved by DOT is why you see that little jog in the road. Power line will come straight in. Once the power line's in, that access has to be removed, and the DOT-approved entrance is per the site plan that you see in the package, so.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Jory?
Second comment.
Yep, go ahead.
So just looking at that, I would say that we will be back revisiting this on more occasions down the road by looking at the layout and the nature of what's happening here today, so.
Yes, Your Worship, the initial work will be done through a site plan agreement, so each time they want to do additional work, once the zoning is in place, we'll be able to deal with most of it through site plan agreements, which is a staff process only versus coming back to council. So the rezoning will put us in position to be able to help the client work with them through the site plan agreement process. If they advance the development beyond what site plan agreement does, there may be an opportunity that we'd be back for a development agreement, but I see that being a fair bit down the road.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Boone? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. 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 Contrary minded, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. 5.2, first reading of amendment to the Land Use Bylaw Schedule A to rezone PID 2547, 8355, and 11175 Highway 6 Pugwash. Mr. Boone.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is an application recently received. It's a opportunity to relocate an existing business that is within the Pugwash community. In order to provide better service, the applicants come forward looking to create a propane fueling facility. Next slide, please. So the reason for the rezoning, Your Worship, is the lands are currently zoned agricultural, and in order to do this, we see it as being more of a semi-industrial use. There's two parts to this application. One is to rezone the land from agricultural to rural industrial or IR zone. The second part is to do a text amendment because we don't actually have a definition within our MPS and land use bylaw that would be appropriate to describe this particular use. So what we want to do is put a specific definition, specific use in the industrial zone, so that would allow the client, if this was successful going through the process, to be able to do future expansions or changes without having to go through a detailed process. This rezoning, Your Worship, is based on a concept drawing that we have in the center of the plan there. This will require a building permit as well based on the type of facility. Our team's already been working with the applicant on details on the building permit requirements just to keep that process moving in the background. It doesn't interfere with the rezoning application per se. The one thing I'll say about this particular property, we have a lot of lands that are zoned agricultural within our MPS and our land use bylaw that was based on specific soil conditions in an area. But as you can see on the zoning map, Your Worship, there's some other rural industrial zones here, including just up the street where Crossroads Cycle is, as well as where I believe it's Gord's Trucking is across the street. And then there's two existing, prior to the bylaw, uses in the neighborhood to the left and the right of this site. There's a concrete construction business and there's an excavating company already in this neighborhood. So it lends itself to this rezoning, and specifically we would put the new definition in place as well. So next slide, please. So there's a couple of actions required here. As I mentioned, the text amendment to add the propane fueling station as a permitted use, and the second would be the rezoning in order to get a zone that would permit this type of facility, but also specifically to create that definition. So a little more details in your report, but I just wanted to kind of summarize that for the presentation. So again, no specific financial implications, environmental implications as far as the municipality, none specific to the proposal. The applicant is required to go through the provincial licensing and approval system for propane facilities, but that's a separate provincial process. Should council approve the first reading, Your Worship, we're looking at scheduling a public hearing on this one for June 19th. Staff are recommending the proposal based on the information I provided, and the actual motion is in the council package. So if there's any particular questions, happy to answer them. Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is that council approve first reading of the bylaw to amend the land use bylaw in Schedule A to rezone PID 254-78355 from agricultural zone to rural industrial, and to approve first reading of a text amendment to section 11-3-2
rural industrial zone of the land use bylaw to permit the operation of a propane fueling facility and to approve an amendment to add propane fueling facility to section 14, definitions of the land use bylaw, and to schedule a public hearing for the proposed changes at a future meeting of council. Someone like to make that motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Councilor Hoteling, seconded by Councilor Redmond. Okay, questions or comments?
I was just wondering, before we make that motion, how many properties are in between that and Crossroads that are going to come before us to have the same thing done, if we couldn't do it all in one motion today?
Yep,
Mr.
Your
Bowman,
Worship,
Mr. Bowman,
back to
please.
Councilor Redmond. I can certainly answer the question. The application before us is, I would use the word time-sensitive based on the type of service and that the operator has certain business reasons to relocate from their current location. We have identified this as an area under the plan review where we would look exactly at what you're saying is, should this whole area be looked at as rural industrial? I'd like to do that as part of the planning process, so there's a bit more consultation, and I'd like to have the chance to talk to those property owners directly as well.
Yeah, very good.
Okay,
Thank
Councilor
you.
Redmond?
Yep,
That's
that's
great.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to offer something?
Yeah, just a comment, Your Worship, if I could. I think that Councillor Redmond's suggestion or question is indicative of conversations that Glenn and I have had for the past few months, and that's knowing there's an MPSLUB review coming up. We have an awful lot of rezonings, and that reflects the fact, development patterns were different 5 years ago or 6 years ago, and now so much development that, we're going to have to sort of project when we do the MPSLUB review in these areas and try to predict where the development's going to be, and there should be far fewer applications for rezoning once we do that. So thank you for that.
Yep. Okay, Councilor Redmond? Great. Any other questions or comments from Mr. Boone regarding this agenda item? Seeing none, I'm going to call for the question. Did you have a question, Councilor Hoteling?
I just wanted to thank staff for putting this through quickly. I know there's a lot of things happening right now, and I just want to share my appreciation to staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hoteling. So no other comments. I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Counterminded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, sir. 5 point.
Your Worship,
Yes.
just on the, some of the first applications we have here today, I might have, because they're new, we're adding bylaws, so that's in the motion as well, that we're now creating bylaws with each of these amendments, so I just wanted to point that out. I kind of slipped on remembering to. That's a new process for us, so it is part of the package, it is part of the motion, just that we now have a bylaw that attaches to each of these rezonings. It's very important, especially if we're doing a text amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking at this page of agenda items that you're responsible for today, and I can't imagine you forgot anything.
Yeah. And now I know how my wife feels hearing my voice too often.
No, thank you, sir. Appreciate all your work. So that motion has been passed. So 5.3, second reading of an amendment to the land use bylaw for personal service shops. Mr. Bowden.
Thank you, Worship. This application, or to the second reading, this is an application council has already seen on 2 separate occasions, so won't spend too much time on it. Just like to reinforce on the second reading, we did have our required first reading. We did have an advertised public hearing. On this particular application, there was no public input either in writing or representation at the public hearing. So at this point, fairly straightforward. The biggest thing I want to point out about this, which I have stressed both in the first reading and at the public hearing, this amendment is actually changing the institutional zone. So I go to maybe the next slide, please, Amanda, sorry. So we're going to add personal service shops as a permitted use in the institutional zone. So just for council's awareness, and I was very specific about this in the public hearing, is that this will change all institutional zones within the municipality. So just wanted to be clarity for council on that. We feel from a planning perspective that it is a very positive and reasonable approach to do this, because in most cases, institutional zones are usually controlled by public entities. So personal service shops, I think, would be well controlled within that kind of environment. So just wanted to repoint that out, Your Worship. Next slide, please, Amanda. So definition of personal service shop, a little bit of additions to that, just to make it very clear. Personal service shops are very broad. We wanted to very specifically put in spas and the popular term medi-spas now, so we're being very specific on that. No financial implications on this one, no environmental issues. The text amendment will, as I mentioned, impact all of the institutional zones across the county, not just the subject property. So I think that was the last one. Yeah, sorry. So community engagement I've already spoken to. We're doing this now in our presentations. The planning process was, first reading was March 27th. Public hearing was held April 24th, and of course, second reading is before you today. So council is, again, being the recommendation is to move forward and to complete the process here. You, Worship, you have the motion, but just to remind council and those that might be watching on the screen that this is then subject to us providing notice and the 14-day appeal period. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The recommended motion is that council approve second reading of the amendment to the land use bylaw to permit the operation of personal service shops within the institutional zone. I'd like to make that motion. Moved by Councilor Redmond, seconded by Councilor O'Telling. Any questions or comments for Mr. Boone? Seeing none, I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, sir. 5.4, second reading of an amendment to land use bylaw Schedule A to rezone part of PID 253-69026, 189 Main Street, Spring Hill. Mr. Boone.
Thank you, Your Worship. Similar to the file we just discussed, we're at the second reading stage to rezone the PID that's at 189 Main Street. This is a property that is owned by 6 Point Star Homes, and it's a location that we are looking at moving from R-Low to R-Multi to permit development of higher density housing. In this case, it's looking at doing group dwellings or townhomes. This application was reviewed. Some conversations were held between myself and our Director of Public Works with regards to servicing as well as traffic and access to this site. We did some additional conversations since the public hearing, Your Worship, based on we did have a resident show up and present eloquently some issues around their concerns over putting density in the neighborhood, as well as looking at some of the traffic concerns. So we did revisit those items since the public hearing, Your Worship, myself and Mr. Wakress, with respect to servicing and more specifically traffic. Feel that this section of Main Street has plenty of capacity for dealing with the volume of traffic that could be created, as well as the site distances from this location, being at the crest of the hill in both directions, is very strong and reasonable. Next slide, please, Amanda. So just some pictures of the location. As again, that's just to look from an access point, fairly straight stretch in both directions from an access point of view. The lands are currently just an open field. They are part of the old property, and I once again forgot, everyone tells me Dr. Fisher's house. So this was part of it. What would happen is that the former Fisher residence, which is now an apartment, would be subdivided off, and these developments would happen on individual lots. Part of the R multi-zone allows developments up to 4 units to be done by right, as opposed to if we were doing it in our low zone, you would be doing individual site plan agreements. So the concept plans for this are on the screen in front of you, Your Worship. The idea would be to create an access road into these, or a private driveway essentially, into each of these sites, and over time there's potential to develop more utilizing that, what would be essentially a private commercial residential driveway. This application has gone through the proper process, as you see on the screen, approved first reading March 27th of this year. We had the public hearing on April 24th. As I mentioned, we did have one resident that I spoke to in advance of the public hearing, but also spoke at the hearing, and we have reviewed those concerns. I feel, Your Worship, this is an area that lends itself to the R multi-zone because of its close proximity to the future school, which we know is open in September. It's very walkable to both the nursing home and, of course, the hospital, and a very reasonable walkability to the downtown where all our services are. So staff is still recommending second reading at this point, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is that council approve the second reading of amendment to the land use bylaw rezoning of PID 25369-026, 189 Main Street, Spring Hill, from lower density residential to multi-unit residential. Someone like to make that motion, please? Moved by Councilor Joseph, seconded by Councilor Gould. Any questions or comments for Mr. Boone in regards to this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, sir. One more, Mr. Boone. 5.5, second reading of amendment to land use bylaw Schedule A to rezone part of PID 25273-434, 121 Main Street, Parsboro. Mr. Boone.
Yep. Your worship, I see that the heading was incorrect. It said public hearing, but we are at second reading.
Yep.
Apologies for that. So this is a second reading, same process as the previous two applications. This is a plan development where the existing commercial building and the commercial lot is zone C down, or commercial downtown. This is an opportunity for the owner who did present at the public hearing to subdivide off a lot and create a residential, individual residential property. The reason and the request for the subdivision and the change to the zoning is it's more appropriate to have the C-mix zone when you're doing single unit or single residential developments. Staff have supported this application throughout, your worship, based on the fact that the C-mix is probably a bit of a down zoning of the downtown zone that exists. We have been very specific with the developer, the owner, that access would come off Howard Lane. That's been discussed with Public Works Director and staff, just because it's a bit of an odd intersection where Pleasant and Main Street meet. So we just want to make sure we're not putting any more driveways off that intersection. This proposal is, as I mentioned, commercial downtown. We're only rezoning a portion of the PID, not the whole PID, just to reinforce that. First reading was done on March 27th. These applications all kind of followed the same process. Public hearing was on October 24th. We did not have any written or oral submissions at the public hearing. There was one question asked by Councillor Gould, and Councillor Goodwin had asked the question in advance of the public hearing. Just with regards to access, I think if you go to the next slide, there's some pictures there that might help us. Access to the small white garage to the left on the upper left photo. There is no established right-of-way to that garage. It is for the adjacent residential property. We did speak with the owner of the property for the garage. What we've advised is that the rezoning can't require a right-of-way as part of the rezoning application. However, we did note and encourage and have conversations with the adjacent owner that at the time of subdivision, that could be established on the plan should the owner be open to that. So essentially put the right-of-way at the time of the subdivision plan. So that would be recommended to the owner but cannot be required. So that was the only input we had, and your worship, it was just a misunderstanding of the date of the public hearing in fairness to the adjacent resident. So I did want to bring that forward at the second reading because we have had the conversation with the owner, adjacent property, residential property, very cooperative, very respectful of the process. So next slide, please. So no financial implications, land use considerations, none specific other than what I've already explained with regards to the difference between the two zones. Community engagement, we have had the public hearing is required, and in this case, the public hearings were advertised in the newspaper. So the recommendation from staff is still the same, your worship, is to approve the second reading, and there is a specific motion. Any questions? Happy to answer.
Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is that council approve second reading of amendment to the land use bylaw rezoning a portion of PID 25273-434, 121 Main Street, Parsboro, from commercial downtown to commercial mixed use. Someone like to make that motion? Moved by Councillor Porter, seconded by Councillor Gould. Any questions or comments for Mr. Boone in regards to this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. 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 Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, sir. That brings us on our agenda to business issues. So we've already dealt with 6.1. We've already dealt with 6.2. 6.3, Provincial Capital Assistance Program project selection. Mr. Walkrest.
Thank you, Your Worship. The province of Nova Scotia has opened applications for the Provincial Capital Assistance Program to support high-priority municipal infrastructure. Part of that process is to have a motion of support to put a project forward as an application. Staff are recommending the Parsboro Wellfield Generator Project that has already been approved as part of the 24-25 capital budget. The project will install a backup generator at the wellfield, and this will power the well pumps and UV equipment located at the wellfield. There is $86,000 allocated from the in the capital budget from the water depreciation funds for this project. If we are successful with our application, the PCAP fund, that fund would fund 50% of that $86,000. The motion is in your package, and happy to answer any questions, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is that council approve the submission of an application for the Parsboro Wellfield Generator Project to the province of Nova Scotia's Provincial Capital Assistance Program. Someone like to make that motion, please? Moved by Councillor Gould, second by Councillor Redmond. Questions or comments for Mr. Walkrest? Councillor Joseph.
Thank you, Your Worship. Great work, Justin. Thank you, Your Worship.
Your Worship.
Mr. Walkrest, I'm afraid to ask you.
You're very welcome.
No further questions or comments? I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you, sir. 6.4, River Hibbert Joggins and Area Development Association request for the River Phillip Foundation. Mr. McCracken out here, so I'm assuming Mr. Harret's going to speak to this. You want it?
Sure. Yeah, I have it. Okay. Sure, Your Worship. This is something that council has, it's at page 103 in council's package. It's not a new item. Council reviewed it at committee of the whole last couple of weeks ago and moved it forward to this meeting. And essentially, the motion is that council approve the request by the River Hibbert Joggins and Area Development Association for the municipality to receive up to $20,000 from River Phillip Foundation and to disperse those funds to the River Hibbert Joggins and Area Development Association in the same amount, Your Worship.
Thank you. So Mr. Harret's just read the recommended motion. So someone like to make that motion, please? Moved by Councillor Porter, second by Councillor Redmond. Any questions or comments in regards to this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. 6.5, 2024-25 grants to organizations. Mr. Harret, you want to speak to this as well?
Briefly, Your
Okay.
Worship. Briefly.
Agreed.
This is not a new item for council either. This is an item that has been reviewed during the budget process at length. In summary, the recommendation is that council provide $837,818.66 to a number of organizations broken out as school bursary $7,000, district grants $9,000, county general grants $610,818.66, and annual grants of $130,000. The list, Your Worship, is at pages 110, 111, and 112, and I would assume, Your Worship, that you don't want me to read that.
You're not going to read them all, right?
No, that is not my
Sure.
intention.
Why?
Unless you want me to,
No,
Your
it's okay.
Worship. So the motion is there in the package. Happy to
So the
answer any questions.
recommended motion is that council approves the grants to organizations for the 2024-2025 fiscal year totaling $877,818.66 and make public the list of recipients. Would someone like to make that motion, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Gilroy, seconded by Councillor Gould. Oh, okay, sorry. A little slow on the draw there. Sorry, Councillor Hotelling. It's moved and seconded. Any questions or comments for Mr. Harret in regards to this agenda item? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you.
I'll do this next.
Under information item 7.1, fees policy discussion. Mr. Harret.
Thank you, Your Worship. As council is aware, the fees policy approved at the last meeting included an increase to the open space recreation fees under the subdivision process from $100 to $500 per lot, intended to be effective immediately after passing that policy. Since that time, we've been made aware of some concerns from the development and survey community about both the fee increase and the notice period provided. In order to move the issue forward, and still allow reasonable increase in fees which have not been increased in years. It's proposed the fees increase from 100 to 200, and that the increase be effective October 1st, 2024. So there's a motion in that memo, a little bit of a typo in the motion, so I'll read it with your,
Please.
with your
Yep,
permission.
yep.
That the open space recreation fee included in the recently approved fees policy be amended to replace the fee of $500 per lot to $200 per lot, and that this item only be effective October 1st, 2024.
Thank you. So you've heard the recommended motion from Mr. Harrod. Someone like to move that, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Gilroy, seconded by Councilor Joseph. Any questions or comments from Mr. Harrod in regards to that agenda item? See. No. No. It's been moved and seconded. No further comments or questions. I call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you.
One second, Your Worship. What's the?
I hope so.
No, we've got it at 7.3. Okay, we're okay. We're okay. Yep. She's just worried about the RCMP thing. Just keep.
Oh.
Yep. We're going. We've got that too. Yep.
We got them. We're
We
okay,
got
are we?
it. Yep, we're good. Thank you.
That brings us down to 7.2, Councilor recognition. Councilor Porter.
Yes, today I'd like to recognize Mike McClellan. For the past 28 years, Mike and his wife Amanda have operated McClellan Service Center in River Hibbert. He stepped in when the last gas station in the area owned by Irving shut down. He not only provided mechanical service and fuel in the area, he also operated a convenience store which was open 365 days a year, rain or shine, good weather or bad, which often involved running a generator to provide services during power outages. He has supported financially all kinds of groups and organizations in the area over the years and served on many boards and committees. While providing these services in the community, he also served 2 terms as a county councilor for what was then District 9 at the time. Although he was wanting to step away from the business, he held off for almost 3 years until he could find the right person to buy and take over the business to ensure that it would stay in the community, that being Anthony Thompson. Well done, Mike and Amanda, and all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you for that, Councilor Porter. So I think we can attest the fact that Mr. McClellan's been a great community, not only business person, but supporter of all the organizations, and we've heard that a lot for the last few weeks, so we really appreciate everything Mike's done for the community, no question. Thank you for bringing that forward. 7.3, RCP Advisory Board, Mr. Harrod.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's a memo distributed to council prior to the meeting. I'm just going to read it. Manson Glode and the issue is the appointment to the Police Advisory Board. Manson Glode is a past member of the Cumberland RCMP Management Advisory Committee, and during that time, he participated in a number of committee meetings, community meetings in various locations of the county and training sessions related to that position. He worked for Indigenous Services Canada and worked with Indigenous communities, organizations, and other levels of government to deliver programs available from that organization. In addition to providing programs and services to the client group, he is trained in negotiation and conflict management, worked closely with senior management and staff to develop solutions to a wide range of issues in the workplace. Cumberland County's activities include being a first aid instructor with St. John Ambulance, casualty simulator with the EMO for the province of Nova Scotia, taught a number of courses to general public, government departments, RCMP, and youth groups in Cumberland County. In addition to his instructor certification, he's a medical first aid responder for St. John Ambulance. So Mr. Glode had applied to be part of the Police Advisory Board, and it's a unanimous recommendation of the interview committee that Manson Glode be appointed to the Police Advisory Board for a term to be determined, effective on the minister's approval of the proposed terms of reference for the board. Before I read the motion, if you'd like me to, I can provide an update and tell you that I've talked to Justice today, Department of Justice today, and we expect approval of that terms of reference any day now. So the motion is there for you, Your Worship, if you'd like to read it. Happy to answer any questions.
So recommended motion is that council appoint Mr. Manson Glode to the Police Advisory Board for a term to be terminated effective upon the minister's approval of the proposed terms of reference for the board. Someone like to make that motion, please? Moved by Councilor, everybody's hands are up. Moved by Councilor Redmond, seconded by Councilor Hotelling, who's on the screen. We're a little slow on the draw here, so we're getting that feedback. But anyway, questions or comments in regards to this agenda item? Seeing none, I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion is carried. Appreciate that. Do want to say that the approval from the Department of Justice for us to reconfigure our RCMP advisory board is really important to us, so Mr. Globe will join us on that, and that'll allow us to start to have our regular advisory meetings again, and that's what we're looking forward to doing that. So thank you, folks, for that. Last agenda item, 7.4, Princess Street paving project. Mr. Walkrust.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council approved the Princess Street Road Improvement Project as part of their 24-25 capital budget. This project will resurface and widen portions of the Princess Street as well as extend a sidewalk from Main Street to Gilroy to access the new elementary school being built. 2 tenders were received. Both were over our projected budget of the project. We have negotiated the low bidder to remove a portion of the scope relating to stormwater separation at the Drummond Street intersection. That brings us closer to the approved budget. Staff is recommending that the revised scope be awarded to the low bidder, Cumberland Paving and Contracting, for a value of $1,244,310.06, and furthermore increasing the capital budget for the Princess Street Road Improvements Project to $1,294,310.06 to accommodate the increase to the budget of the awarded contract, as well as $40,000 for Bella Lion and NSPI pole removal and relocation, and $10,000 for engineering services during construction. Happy to answer any questions on the project, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. So the recommended motion is that council award tender MCC 2402 Princess Street Road improvements to Cumberland Paving Contract for a value of $1,244,310.06, including non-recoverable HST, and the council increased the capital budget for the Princess Street Road Improvements Project to $1,294,310.06, including non-recoverable HST. So that motion covers all the changes you just suggested and made?
Yep, this can be
Okay.
made as 1 or 2 motions, either
Okay.
works, Your Worship.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So moved by Councillor Joseph. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Gilroy. Any questions or comments from Mr. Walkrust in regards to this agenda item? Councillor Joseph.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to say thank you, Justin.
Mr. Walkrust.
You're welcome, Councillor Joseph.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Mr. Walkrust. Just before we adjourn, I do want to say that I do want to thank all the staff, the directors and the staff under them. All this work today that's being done, and we all ask and push behind the scenes and ask questions, and through Mr. Harrott to have this work done. It's all done without the view of the public and without the view of a lot of us. So this work just doesn't land here today on its own. It's the result of hard work of a lot of staff. So on behalf of council, I just want to say thank you to those here today, and obviously those who are not, and all staff for all the great work they do. So thank you for that. I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Gilroy. We are adjourned. Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, so, yeah, sure.